Hi, everyone. So for today's video, I just want to talk quickly, put some thoughts out there around where your data is. Do you know? I work with a lot of companies and particularly around Cyber Essentials. And one thing that comes up, especially this year, because of the changes in the scheme as of January 2022, was that cloud systems were brought in scope. So previously for Cyber Essentials, we could outscope certain cloud systems. Not anymore. I personally think that's a very good thing because if you think about it now, some of our key business data is held in a cloud platform of some description. So it's only right that we should be making sure that data is secured and not put at unnecessary risk. But for a lot of businesses, when they start working through, particularly for Cyber Essentials, and we ask, what are the systems you use? Because for Cyber Essentials, you don't just have to say, we have password controls in place, we have MFA. You have to actually document that list of systems. It demonstrates that as a business, you understand what systems you're using, where your data is, and that you've got appropriate protection around it. So I talk to a lot of businesses, they say, well, quite often I'm talking to IT departments, IT managers and people in those sorts of roles. And they say, yeah, well, we use Microsoft 365. We use Azure. I know that finance use QuickBooks. Maybe we've got one or two others. But that's all we use. So I think we're really good on that front. That's not to say that's not true. But when you dig a little more under the hood, you quite often find actually there's other systems around. And this is where this gets a bit complicated. Often organisations don't know what they don't know. And there's often a little bit of shadow IT coming into play here, where a department historically has needed an app that does a particular function legitimately, and they've started using that app. But if central IT don't know about that, then you've got this disconnect. And again, that's not to say that central IT should manage everything. It's quite reasonable that you may let finance lead looking after their finance apps. They understand them. They know what they need for the business. But you need to make sure you've got that due diligence around it. So even if, let's say, finance are managing that app and looking after it, they need guidance from IT, from your compliance person, whoever looks after that function. They need guidance on what that app should do, what standard it should meet. And of course, if it doesn't meet that standard, then question should be, should you use it at all? Reporting back, though, whoever is looking after your compliance, like Cyber Essentials, they need to know we've got these apps in use in our business. I'm not managing them as the IT manager. I'm comfortable that, let's stick with finance, that finance have got the guidance they need. They're making sure the app is compliant. I just know the details of it. So when we come to review this periodically, we can make sure that everything passes muster. So how do we go about figuring out what you've got? So what I've just got here on screen then is just a really simple spreadsheet template I use. And when I've been working with companies, I actually take this and we go around the business. So the company will understand their business. They will understand where the different business units are: finance, sales, technical support, operations, manufacturing, whoever it is. Obviously different across different businesses. So they will go out to those businesses, and the question to start with is purely, what do you use? So when you sit on your phone or you sit on your laptop, what are you using? And let's just get a complete list of that. So if you're sitting there WhatsApping your customers all the time, WhatsApp's on the list. If marketing are using LinkedIn, they're doing social media posts, that's on the list. Capture it all. Now, there are some conditions under which things can be in or out scoped. That's for another video. It's quite an in-depth conversation. There's a bit of nuances. The easiest way to approach it is to start with that all systems would be in scope, because most tend to be. So, as you can see from this template I've got here, I've started filling this out. I've now captured the apps down the left-hand side there. And it's important that someone has ownership of that. And like I said earlier, it's not got to be IT necessarily, but it's whoever is appropriate to own that app, own the access to it, and make sure that it meets the right standard with guidance from IT, from your compliance person, whomever. And we need just to have a note and a record of what that app does. As you can see, I've done here. Now, I've not filled the next columns in on this example, but you can see from the headers how I then take that core information and I then question a bit further. So if this were an app with the finance team, I'd go to them and say, right, how do you log into it? Does everyone have their own logins? Do you have separate admin logins for this app? Document that. Then drill a bit further again. What are the password requirements for that app? Cyber Essentials, again, has particular requirements about passwords, about password lockouts to prevent brute force attacks. MFA has to be on admin accounts and will be required on user accounts from January 2023. So you need to document all of that as well. And by using this spreadsheet format, I find it's a really easy way of doing that, because then you can use the filters and work through your list of what is or isn't compliant. And then you can start taking action separate of this. Of course, there's many ways you might be able to capture this information. You could just give the spreadsheet and say, can you fill it in? You might want to just go to those people and say, just give me a list in an email of the apps you've got. Maybe you want to be a bit more creative. Use something like Microsoft Forms and actually have a broken down questionnaire that you can issue across the business. And that questionnaire, of course, could actually be quite intuitive, that if you've got apps, you can use branching to then expand into the password, the MFA questions and so on. It's what's going to work best for your organisation. So I'm not going to sit and say one way is absolutely better than another, because I think you've got to find what suits. But the key thing is get everything listed, understand who owns them, okay? Understand who owns those apps, and then you can then start logging it. It's a bit of work to start with, to be fair. But once you've got this, you can then start building up that compliance picture, and you can understand what the company is using. Now, of course, there's a lot of other things down the line, not just compliance, but you may then look and find that when you've done this, different departments are using other apps and they might be paying for them. And then you find that you've actually got those within something like your 365 subscription. Why pay twice? Perhaps there's a conversation to be had about moving into using the 365 app that you've already got. Is the antivirus, is the security you're using, perhaps the best one you could use and the most appropriate. So there's a lot of other things that fall off the back of this. But initially, get things captured, do that surveying, build it up into your central record. You then got that for your Cyber Essentials submission because you've got your list of apps, and you can then clearly document that, yes, they all meet the right standard. And it'll help you build your remediation plan if they're not up to scratch, and it'll help you manage that. So I hope that was useful. Just a few thoughts there on how we go about trying to capture that. It's key for all businesses now. But again, how things have evolved over time doesn't necessarily mean that the compliance person, the central IT, will necessarily know what's going on across the whole business. So hopefully there's just some food for thought there on how you might be able to do that. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this around security compliance. More videos coming, not just on more the compliance side of things like Cyber Essentials. I'm going to be delving into some of the Microsoft security stack as well over time. So much more to come. Any comments, any suggestions, any things you'd like to see, please drop in those comments below, and I'll see you on the next video.